Yes, please. I have waited patiently. I have vision. Just like that, how you have our strength and I can't believe we're gonna do this again. Ready? Blaze it. Blaze it up for all my mortals out there. I'm calling you. Gone goes my very falling, falling fool. Of you. Rust in my face, my hands in my waist, drowning so. I did not always show it, but now I'm calling you. Calling, we're gonna fight and search for truth. Trying to read you. Oh no, no, I don't think no. I don't think no. No, no, think no, no. I'm calling you. I'm enjoying love is feeling good. You too, you. I'm on my life, my days and my nights, so it's alright. Feel God not walking in. I'm calling you. All my things, all my fears, so smooth. I'm thanking you. The rest of my life, my patience all that I know. I'll take no more than that. It's just still need to know. No, no, I don't need nobody. Don't feel no one. Faster without trying to spread my legs away. Answers. When I lie to myself, it ain't me from you. I guess I'm thankful. But all the things you think, complicated as purpose in the future. Lay it all out. Grab a hold of your hand. Passato e repetivo e magari la gente sta ricordare che tutto va bene. Registrato, tagliato, io tentavo, te scucciolo il tetto, mi alimento quando la mia vera si ritorna, io ti invito, sentiamo, can you hear me? Yes, we can hear you. When there's the sands on the ashes, those baby silence screams, no more children, broken dreams, no more mothers, no more fathers. Where's our Palestinian brothers? Just go on the raging ravage. It's just your collateral damage. Never look back. Just part of it. Selling the songs. The world's gone cold when dust descends on the crimson sky. Truth reveals a million lies. From the ashes they'll rise. Freedom you know. Then our people you decide. I haven't taught you much with pride. Taking over paranoid. Your hands with a broken soul. Hide behind your iron door. Make your victims terrorists. Tell your lies so ludicrous. Leaders show their ignorance. Our yellow bellies impotent. But there's no peace but where justice reigns. And freedom storms and sky. When truth reveals a million lies. From the ashes there will rise a phoenix whispers and say, من الرمى أحيا نعيد مثل العنقود من اللاشيء من سماء قاصدين نسمو ونعلو جاهدين بالروح نفدي فلسطين والنصر فينا لا يحين. When the descends on the sky, a million all is too well. Let them show all the beauty that's inside. Give them a sense of maybe you never thought of searching for him. One thing of this, I never found it for to fulfill my needs.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's webinar. I believe we can hear me. I believe you can hear me. If you can, please let me know.
Yes, I can hear you clearly, loud and clear.
Thank
you.
you.
Good evening.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, you are welcome, you're welcome to tonight's webinar titled Understanding Resilience, the thin line between adversity. So tonight, we are going to look at how resilient children. So tonight, I want to welcome you all to tonight's meeting. We are glad that we called and you answered. So thank you for joining us and thank you for being here on time to start with us. We are grateful to have you here with us. So this evening, as I welcome us all this evening, our host for tonight is no other person but Coach Amina Yunus Ali. So I'm going to introduce her to us. I believe some of us know her, but just pay attention as I introduce her to us again this evening for those who haven't heard about her or haven't seen her. So Amina Yunus Ali is an accomplished professional with a diverse set of skills and an unwavering commitment to helping others. Armed with a degree in family life therapy, expertise in performance consulting, and a proficiency in neuro-linguistic programming. She is adept at assisting individuals in overcoming childhood traumas, managing grief, and living life to the fullest. Amina is a highly regarded master practitioner and a member of the management board at the Institute of the Family System Engineering and Development, as well as a fellow of the Institute Professional Coaching and Mentoring. Additionally, she's a distinguished mediator, certified by the International Mediation Campus in Germany, with a specialization in family mediation. Her expertise is in resolving family drama is unparalleled. But that's not all. Amina is also an emotion coaching specialist from the Gottman Institute in Canada and an intermediate level practitioner of family mediation. Her expertise in these areas allow her to help individuals achieve inner peace and personal growth effectively. Amina's dedication to positive change and healing knows no bounds. Her qualifications and commitment to her clients' well-being are limitless. If you are looking for a professional who can help you overcome challenges and achieve your goals, Amina Yunus Ali is the perfect choice. Don't hesitate to reach out to her and experience the difference firsthand. So we are looking at raising resilience in children. So this evening, you may be thinking, oh, what is this topic all about and everything? But the thing is this: resilience is an important quality for children to develop as it helps them navigate life challenges. And resilience really matters because it helps children develop healthy coping strategies to deal with anxiety and stress. So resilient children have a positive self-image, which boosts their confidence and self-esteem. So it helps them in approaching problems with growth mindset. So tonight, Coach Amina, our host, is going to give us the full details of what it means to have and to raise a resilient children. So this evening, the floor is open. So let us welcome Coach Amina. Give her a clap, even as you say welcome. Coach Amina, the floor is yours for tonight's webinar.
All right, thank you very much, Coach Chineze. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for anchoring this amazing event. Dear all, I am so blessed. I'm grateful that you're all here and you are, interested in understanding what it takes to raise resilient children. Before we go on, if there's someone that registered for this webinar, because I was so odd when I saw that we had over 500 participants registered as at this morning, and we sent emails to everyone. But then again, one of the things that I've learned with technology is that sometimes either we don't get our email written properly, or some glitches just happen, and then it gets stuck either in the spam or whatnot. Just in case you know someone who registered for this webinar and they are not here yet, kindly let them know that we've started and it's about time for them to join us, right? Also, okay, I am trying to, let me stop share for a little bit and then spotlight myself. All right, so let's do that. Thank you so much, Coach Chineze. It's amazing to have you all and the Timeless Inc. team, the TSI team as well. We have them here. So if you have any questions as we go on, you'll find a lot of Timeless Inc. admin on the chat box. Just reach out to them privately, or you can just put your question and I'm sure they would answer you promptly. So once again, thank you and welcome to Raising the Free first webinar of the year, Raising Resilience in Children, the thin line between trauma and adversity. Now, before I go deep into the topic, I want you to put it in the chat box the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about resilience. Anything at all. This as interactive as possible. If you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead. We have someone who's monitoring YouTube as well. So just let us know, what does resilience mean to you as a person, as a parent, as a professional? Because one way or the other, those three things integrate as our lifestyle, being a person, a parent, and being a professional. Whatever it is that you do, what does resilience mean to you? I'm giving the fact that right now so that I can know what resilience means to you. And I know that, all right, so I have a personal thinking with the challenges. Who else is here? Welcome to Syria. All right, then, put it in the chat box. Let's
I think you're muted.
We can't hear you, Coach Amina.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Is it very clear?
It is.
All right, great. Thank you very much. So I was saying that everything that I've read in the chat box so far, ability to struggle well, strength, what else? Being able to handle challenges, being able to live through stress and unexpected events, ability to achieve your goals in spite of, not because of. Fantastic. All these actually speak to resilience. But one of the things that I've found, that I've learned in my line of work is Certain things are subjective to certain situations. And if we are not careful, the very meaning that we are looking for may be misinterpreted, particularly when we are sharing that action to people. So like Brené Brown always says, one of the best ways to understand something is first to understand what it is not, right? So let's go to understanding what resilience is not, because there are a lot of myths about resilience. In fact, one of the things that actually made me decide, or made us decide to have this webinar, was because throughout last year, one of the things that I do is also a crisis intervention specialist, and that means that I am sometimes called in the case of suicide attempt or suicidal ideation of children, of adolescents and young adults particularly. And last year, 2024 was the highest number of calls that I had to deal with. And it was really hard. And one of the recurring themes that I kept hearing from parents, from well-wishers, from even professionals in this mental health industry and coaching and all that was that, oh, we are having children who are no longer resilient, and what is going on? So to understand what resilience is not, let's first what resilience is, let's first understand what it is not. Number one, it is not toughness or tight upper lip. One of the key things that make people struggle is the inability to express emotion. Emotionless children actually have a harder time being resilient, because the more they keep the emotions to themselves, the more they struggle to actually overcome the stress that want them to overcome. Resilience is only experienced through harsh conditions. True, adversity actually brews resilience, but it is not the only thing. In fact, there is a very important thing that makes adversity work, because without that thing, adversity is just adversity. Adversity actually leads to something else, which is why we are here today, understanding the thin line between adversity and trauma. Now, resilient kids are born, not mute. Oh yeah, I'm an African parent, I cannot deal with this. This is the time for us to listen, that every child born into this world actually has the ability, the learnability to understand resilience. But then why is it that we are not having a certain generation of children finding it tougher than other generations? We would understand that very soon. Now, resilient kids don't need help is also another myth. Actually, it is because of the help that resilience is understood by children. Resilience is a teachable, learnable skill. That fact we know. But it is very important for us to note that resilience is not about enduring pain, avoiding emotions, or facing hardships alone. It is actually about developing the emotional and problem-solving skill needed to navigate life's challenges effectively. The problems of life, one of the things that we would say in our Niger parlance is that problem no dey finish. There would always be challenges for us, for children to navigate. In fact, the point at which children begin to learn resilience is actually the time they begin to learn new things from infancy. That moment they begin to learn how to walk. How many times did that child fall down before the child actually learned to effectively stand and balance on their own 2 feet? When they were starting to run, how many times did they have a bruised lip or a bruised knee or a bruised this and that before they actually began to run effectively? This, in actual fact, is resilience. But what makes a child keep going even when they are being hurt? And that is where we are at when they begin to grow as parents. What is the value that we are bringing into the learnability of resilience? The fundamental responsibility of teaching resilience is actually on the parents. But you see, the thing that gets in the way is our fear and our shame and the response of those two things. So our culture as Africans has convinced us that the only way to teach resilience is through action. So a child is not, say the child is not street smart, or the child is waking up too late, or the child has an untidy room. We begin to think about the ways of sending the same child to the boarding house. So we are practically delegating our own work of teaching resilience from the home to other people. And then these people will not teach resilience in a way that actually becomes traumatic for the child to learn. And what is our fear and what is our shame? Our fear and our shame comes from the idea that how can a child of mine, knowing who I am, how many struggles I have been through, now come and have life too easy? That just doesn't happen. If this resonates with you, type yes in the chat box. Let me see. Right? If this is something that you've ever thought about or you've heard someone say, let's see you here in the chat box, right? So we continue to assume that the only thing that actually brings resilience is the harder life gets or the tougher life gets for these children, the more they actually learn resilience. But the thing is, we now begin to create hardship for our children as responsibility just because we want to teach this very thing that we are struggling to understand. If in childhood at one point or the other, you felt like your parents didn't like you or didn't love you, or you went into a school and you struggled, but you were afraid to come home and tell your parents, please just put yes in the chat box, because I am a living proof of that. One of the reasons my mom shipped me, and I'm so grateful that happened. Now I can be grateful. At that point in time when she shipped me to Inshoyin Grammar School, gosh, I felt like I must have done something wrong to God to give me a mother that would decide that the only way for me to learn whatever lessons she was trying to teach me was to ship me into Inshoyin Grammar School. But guess what? That was one of the things. I would say that school is one of the reasons I actually I'm actually now doing this work that I am doing. Because at that time, I didn't see it as good. At that time, I didn't see it as wonderful. At that time, I felt like I was unwanted and I was unneeded in that family. So that was why my mom decided to do those things. Recently, we're having a chat about it at home, and it was like, well, it was because everybody at home was telling her that as the last baby of the house, I was too slow, I was not street smart, and the only way that could happen was for me to go to boarding house. See how life happened. I spent 1 year in the boarding house, and with several sickness back to back, the poor woman just decided that, look, whatever it is that you will learn here in Lagos. And then I came back to Lagos and stayed with her. The idea of thinking that you are not wanted, needed, or appreciated in a family is actually that thin line that separates adversity from trauma. Adversity are naturally occurring experiences of life. A child will struggle to walk, they will struggle to run. They would actually struggle to eat, because even though they are fighting with you that they want to eat by themselves when they are like age 1.5 years or 2 years old, they're actually struggling because their motor finesse is not yet there. So they're going to, their motor skills, their gross motor skills are not yet developed. So they're going to struggle to do that. So every stage of life has its own naturally occurring adversity. But trauma is that thing that occurs when a child begins to have an overwhelming sense of stress and distressing events, and they begin to think that, well, I don't think I can cope with this. Now, I often tell adults that trauma is actually not the event, but the meaning that happens as a result of the event, the meaning you take from that event. Remember, I told you that, donkey years ago, I was sent into boarding house. And at that point in time, I didn't believe that I was loved. Now, I can look back at that particular time because it actually brought me closer to one of the most phenomenal human beings that would help me on this work that I do now. Ms. Fowey. And actually now I can say I am grateful that I went to Inshoyin Grammar School. See how that changed. At one point, it was traumatic. At another point in my life, I can see it as an adversity. But you see, when it comes to children, it is that idea that this is stress I do not have, because at the moment they are beginning to think, I cannot cope with this. It is an overwhelming sense of stress. It is distressing to them, and it actually may have lasting emotional, psychological, and even physical factors embedded in it that we may not see. So if I had held on to what my mom did at that point in time, and I never had this experience of this wonderful work that I do with families and human beings such as yourselves and coming here to talk to you about it. I would continue to reel from the need of losing a mother even though she's still alive, or losing a family even though I still have family. Because again, the emotional and psychological experience that brought to me was almost immeasurable, and I really didn't have anybody to share it with at that time. Now, the outcome of either one of this depends on how parents are present in the children's life. Where the former brings about natural tendency to problem solve, a naturally occurring adversity. You know, there was, if you watch a child learn to crawl and then walk, and you see them hit their head, and then they touch the head and rub it, and look back, and they're like, what happened just now? And you watch them, and you smile, and you encourage them. They actually go back to doing that thing and wanting to do it better next time. That is what adversity teaches, the ability to problem solve. But on the other hand, if that very thing, that very particular need to work was met with, can't you see your face? Can't you see where you're going? Don't you know how to work? All your mates have already started working. You are still here, shifting your bum bum. The child listens to the tone of your voice. They watch your face. They begin to interpret that as an emergent stressor at that particular need, now beginning to make them feel, and this is wonderful, isn't it? This is where science plays its role. Beginning to make them feel distant from their parents. Unconsciously, this begins to happen. And that is where trauma actually begins to lie. You hear me talk a lot about, how adversity is naturally occurring. And I've been talking so much about children, young children in this case. How about other children and adolescents? How do you think adversity shows up for them? It shows up in academic struggles. Because guess what? No child really wants to be, excuse me, no child really wants to lose being the first or being the best in class. Well, it happens. They have disagreements with or conflicts with their peers, with their friends. It happens. They face disappointment one time or the other in their lives. You promise them something, it doesn't happen. And then they actually feel it that, oh, after you promised me this, and it doesn't happen. These are natural occurring things. You sometimes have to relocate them from one place to another. That happens naturally. It is not that you are going out of your way to engineer this adversity. It is life experiences that are making these things to happen. However, when it comes to trauma, a very thing that could actually just be adversarial without support of the immediate family members, caregivers, parents, people that this child or this adolescent loves or actually leans on, without their support, can be translated into traumatic experiences. And this is what the traumatic experiences that they translate to begin to show up. Like they begin to feel the emotional neglect. They feel unheard. So your child is telling you, oh, I actually read so hard for my physics class, but I got a D. And you're saying no. And you're saying, no, you didn't read enough. You are watching TV, you are doing this, you are doing that. That's why you failed. But at that point, that child was actually preparing for the exam. You may not have noticed, right? They can translate it to parental abandonment, especially when it comes to issues such as separation of parents, divorce, or even death. I lost my dad when I was 4 years plus. And I know that for the longest time, I actually felt unconsciously angry or resentful of his person, because I would say things, for those who know me, they know that I write a lot of poems, isn't it? So I would say things like, oh, all my siblings had time with them. I was the only one that had time with him. I was the only one that didn't have time with him, and I would write so wistful poetry about it, about how he abandoned me and how alone it felt, particularly when I'm having problems with my mom. Poor woman, she was just a single 40-something-year-old woman trying the best that she could at that point in time. But I was also in my world and I was feeling abandoned. Sometimes physical, emotional, and sexual abuse could happen and these children have no one to talk to. Physical and verbal abuse can actually come from parents themselves. Because again, you're thinking that the only way to discipline a child is to make them feel pain. And then the more pain that they feel, the more they stop that habit. What you've actually taught them is how to hide the habit more. Sexual abuse happens between families and nobody talks about it. We are so hush-hush. No, this is a family matter. Witnessing or experiencing domestic violence, especially in very toxic relationships, the children look at this and they begin to think that even though they know that their parents are having issues, and that is an adversity, nobody scripted that ideally, but if the support of the parents, if one of both parents are not taking their pain out on the child, it actually becomes a traumatic experience. Being bullied persistently without intervention. You know, many times I've heard children say that whenever they are bullied in school, their parents say, you should go back and bully the child. Like we are encouraging bullying as a response to bullying, right? And it makes me wonder, what exactly are we teaching in this sense? Because again, what we assume as support or what we assume as strength is actually teaching violence, where we should have advocated for the child or figured out a more compassionate way to deal with the matters. Sudden life-altering events such as natural disasters, death in the family, accidents, severe illness, all this could happen unscripted. But then how are we actually helping our children to translate it, not into traumatic experiences, but actually adverse experiences that they have our support to deal with effectively? So when we don't pay attention, what happens to our children's emotional, physical, and psychological experiences is that they begin to have nervous system overload. The number of children that are now beginning to contemplate, I mean, one of the most painful cases that I dealt with last year was the case of an 8-year-old who, just because the child was not promoted, contemplated suicide. And it was so painful to experience because I was just thinking, what could make this child think that the next best thing is for me to take my life? An 8-year-old. So the number of children who are now beginning to have chronic mental health challenges, including suicidality, is not only increasing in terms of number, it's also going way down in terms of ages. And we need to begin to pay attention. The behavioral challenges, increasing behavioral challenges are a result of low problem-solving skills. So all that anger that child is experiencing, the talk-backness, the slamming the door, the I don't care attitude, the reticence that they are, these are behavioral challenges that as a result of keeping the tight upper lip, the very thing that you think are making them resilient. Now, the thing is, when this prolongs, you begin to have brain transformation, and the brain begins to change. I mean, trauma begins to change the brain in such a way that the very things that we are hoping for, that cognitive skills, attention, paying attention skills, less hypersensitivity and hyperactivity, actually begins to increase, right? Because they begin to have cognitive difficulties. So this is the pyramid of dysfunction as a result of trauma. The thing is, so from system overload to alarming predisposition to violent behaviors and criminality are actually the things that happen when adversity are not treated the way they should be. And what I mean by that is with support, they actually begin to become traumatic experiences. So what is resilience? Or what is the science behind resilience? How can you begin to build resilience in your children? The way you begin to build resilience is this.
This dad was helping his son who's in a wheelchair learn how to roll up into the house.
Did you hear the sound from the video first? Or do I need to go back?
Yes.
Okay, great. So the basic meaning of resilience is bounce back ability. Right? So remember I said adversity is naturally occurring experiences. So we are like a spring. Life will continue to stretch us, but the more we are able to go back to term, the more we are able to go back to our unique form, our original form, that is what resilience means. That is what it means. Our ability to bounce back at each time that we experience difficulty, challenges, our ability to understand that we have that capability and there are people who can support us to learn it even when we are struggling with it is what makes us resilient. So let's watch this video once more and see how this fantastic father actually taught his child.
This dad was helping his son who's in a wheelchair learn how to roll up into the house by himself. And this was super hard for him to do. But he didn't give up, and his dad was there to motivate him the entire time.
You gotta go fast, bro. Fast. Don't slow down. Don't be scared.
Little man tried over and over with no success. So his dad gave him one last motivational speech.
Can't stop pushing. When you get on that lid, you push. Everything you got.
He then got ready for his last attempt and even pointed to God. This was the moment he finally did it, and his dad's reaction is amazing.
Go, go, don't fall back. Don't fall back. Go. Push, push. Both arms. Push, 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 push. Quit rocking it. There you go. 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 Don't go. There you go. Push. That's how you get it, man. That's how you get it, man.
Okay, what did that teach you? What did you see in that video? Let me go back to it. I'm not going to play it again. I'm just going to pause.
This dad was helping his son who's in a wheelchair.
What did video teach you as a parent? What did you see? What did you learn from that video? What are the things that you noticed off the bat? How I say is never give up. Fantastic. What else? Who else is here and saw the video? What else did you notice in the video? Anyone here? Can you all hear me? Abraham says encouraging is good. Trust your God. He's supported by moving the mats. Okay. Letting his son know he believes in his ability. Help out all the time. The power of motivation and determination. The father cheered the son all the way. Positive words. Fantastic, fantastic. I'm glad that you all noticed ongoing motivation. Now, one thing you did not see is the father pushing the wheelchair for the boy. One thing you did not see is the father shouting on the boy and saying, I've told you. I mean, this was just a short video, right? This was a short clip of that video. The number of times they may have done this, we don't know. The number of times the father would have tried to get him to be able to push through, we don't know. But every time he was just there, he kept saying it, you can do this, push, push, push through. The one thing that I need us, if you take anything away from this class tonight, is this, that resilient children don't just happen. They actually, how do I put this? Resilient children don't just happen. The one unique thing that you'll find with resilient children are the families that support them no matter what. The families that are constantly at their beck and constantly there to say, you know what, I'm not giving up on you. Like this child would make you want to, on pins and needles, you would want to pull your hair out. But you'll consistently say, you know what? I believe in you. I believe in you. I believe in you. And the child is like wondering, what do you believe? After everything that I've put you through, why do you still love me? Right? Because the 5 signs of resilient children are this. Number 1 is adaptability. They have the ability to adjust to new situations, but it's not something that happens just like that. You will talk through, they would cry, they will feel that emotion, but you will constantly be there for them. They also have emotional awareness. They're able to tell when, like, you know what, my parents have tried their best. It's time for me to show up for myself as well. And they have that emotional awareness to be able to recognize and understand their emotions and the emotions of others. They also have problem-solving skills. They are constantly at that space where they are thinking, what is the alternative that I can do? What else can I do here? They have the sense of self-efficacy. They're not constantly waiting for someone to rescue them. Yes, it will be good for someone, because even for that young man, he could have said, you know what, I'm not doing it again. I'm just tired. But you see, the father, he has strong support system. He had his father and even his mom who was recording the video. there for him, made him know that, you know what, I actually can do this. And this is what it means to be resilient. Resilience is not built by avoiding challenges, because we can't avoid it. Life is full of challenges. Why do we need to make more for our children, right? Resilience is not by avoiding challenges, but by learning to regulate emotions in the face of them. Teaching children to navigate their feelings is the foundational strength, is the foundation of their strength. But unfortunately, here's the unfortunate part of the story. We don't know how to regulate our own emotions. We get triggered, we respond harshly, and then we think that that is teaching. A child breaks a plate, you are saying, what? I mean, your voice has gone from 0 to like 100 in the space of 1 second, and you're expecting that that child would not feel like, I don't know, I don't think I'm supposed to be I'm supposed to be a part of this family. We come back home from work, and the thing that we are looking at is not how well our children are or the fact that we have a home to come home to. It is the things our children have not done that we are beginning to notice, from the car park to the living room up until our room. Because again, we are saying, oh, I'm just too tired, I cannot deal with all your nonsense. And the children hear this day in, day out, and we are here expecting them that when we shout at them, when we even beat them, you know, have you heard, you know how parents will beat you, and then they will tell you that if I hear him, and I'm like, but it's painful, that's why we are crying. But the natural response to pain should be that I will cry about it, or I will mope about it. But then you will say, no, if you have corrected the child must dare not. Again, because this is the way we have been conditioned to believe that we should live. The unfortunate truth about this is that the unfortunate, inescapable truth about it is that if you really want to build resilience, you really need to learn how to regulate your own emotions. Because here are the things. Emotional regulations prevents overwhelm. The more you are able to regulate your emotions, the more your child begins to notice from you. So my daughter would come into my room, and at the slightest offense, she would initially cry. And when we began to learn meditation, she would not say, okay, I'm going to breathe in and out now. But mommy, I really want to tell you something that was really hurtful that you did. And I would say, okay, yeah, go on. But it took me a while to get her to that space, because again, my own natural tendency, based on the way I was parented, was to get triggered, respond harshly, and then also trigger our own overwhelming sense of insecurity in the home. And that went on for a long time until I learned to parent differently. There is a critical law of parenting that most of us do not know. But when we begin to talk about the masterclass coming up in a month's time, you actually begin to understand it better. Let me just give you a little bit of the gist. There is no way you are well-intentioned enough to parent differently than the way your parents have parented you, if you have not done the inner work. Let me take that again. And this is me just rephrasing it. There's actually a lot to that. There is no way that your well-intentioned, your good intentions, your hope and your dreams and your prayers would manifest for you to parent differently until you have done the inner work. For you to parent differently than the way your parents parented you until you have done the inner work. And emotional regulation is one of those things. Because again, it encourages effective problem solving. So when you're asking your child, what do you think that you should do next? They're actually calm enough to think things through. They're not in a state of fear, flight, freeze, fly, or what are those trauma responses? I've forgotten them right now because I'm in a rush. I'm trying to meet up time. They are not in
fight
a
or
flight
flee.
Yes, flight or freeze.
Or flee.
Or there are like 5 trauma responses that we can actually go through in the masterclass, right? They're actually calm enough to think things through and say, okay, now that this has happened, I think I can suggest that this is what I should do next. When you're asking them to apologize for something that they did wrongly, they actually understand that you are not making them apologize just because they are the firstborn or the lastborn or whatever born that they are. They actually recognize that what they did was wrong, and you are able to help them come to that realization without forcing them to it. and they're able to problem solve and say, okay, yeah, I need to repair this relationship. Do you know how many siblings are not talking to themselves right now because of the way their parents actually resolved issues? Do you know how many times, even in your own home, you have felt bad because of the way you resolved issues, but you are saying, well, they'll just take it like that now. Do you know how many times a child has gone on hunger strike, even if it's just for a few hours, because they feel like their parents have not helped them? And then they grow up to become adults who are unable to problem solve their relationships because, again, nobody apologized to them or nobody made them know that what they did was wrong in the first place. Another thing emotional regulation does is to reduce mental health risk. I am so tired of having to work with parents whose 10-year-olds are having anxiety attacks in school just because they want to do spelling bee. I am so scared of the next generation, this alphabet that we are now giving birth to, because again, we have 20-something-year-olds who actually don't think that they are capable of being parents, but because of, again, the natural occurrence of things is go to school, get work, get married, have children. And it's the way it has always been, and it's, it's continued to be expected. We are not paying enough attention to the education, the skills that these young adults should have in parenting in the first place. And I know that I have grandmothers on this call. I have grandmothers who are listening to me. And I'm saying to you, dear Mas and Sars, grandparents who are listening to me, and I'm saying, dear Mas and Sars, this is the time for you to begin to encourage your children to not just go for premarital assessments and counseling, but also after they are married, they should go for parenting counseling so that they know what they need to do differently for their own children. Because again, we are also having young children as young as 12 years old who are actually falling into chronic depression. Like it is almost unimaginable, except you're doing my work. But when a child actually tells you, you can't understand when I tell you what I'm going through. You most likely can't, because they're in that mental space where they have felt alone for the longest time. And right now, the only thing that they see is, well, nobody cares for me or nobody understands me. And they continue to feel like that and continue to feel like that until there's an intervention in place. And then we medicate them and we send them back. And we begin to say, oh, they are now addicted to drugs. Building self-confidence is also another thing that emotional regulation does, because the minute you're able to be assertive, you're able to express yourself with what you feel, label your emotions, then you can actually begin to advocate for yourself. You can also actually begin to tell not just your parents, but your peers how you feel, and it reduces the risk of peer influence. So all those people that you're afraid that your children will begin to be like or think like, you want to reduce risk because the child already knows who they are. Now, the key question is, how can parents set firm discipline and boundaries while still being emotionally supportive? Because I heard this a lot. Oh, what you're asking us to do, is to become like all those Oyinbos that we see in movies and on series or in Bollywood. And, that's not the way we are raised, though. These children will just spoil or they will become too indulgent. Oh, no. My darlings, that is not happening. Because again, the problem that we have right now is that children are struggling with emotional outburst and defiance. Parents are feeling exhausted from it. And then we constantly have this power struggle, right? We are afraid that we are raising entitled or emotional fragile kids. But then there's confusion between, do I do this or do I not do this? The solution is this. You need to take my job. They don't like seeing me. That's the truth. They don't like coming to the minute a parent enforces, except for children who tell you that, mommy or daddy, I need to see a therapist, or I need to see a coach. There are very few of those. But, the minute a parent says, I think I'm going to ask you to go and see and tell me, this is what she does. She actually speaks. They are like, you know what? You don't get it. They may eventually come to me and actually tell me what is going on. But the person that they need to get it the most is you. The person that they need to actually be there for them is you, the parents. And what we get wrong is that we think that discipline is about control and punishment. It isn't. We also think that children should just follow the rules without emotion. Do you remember when you were a child and they asked you to sweep the entire compound? Did you like it? Or when daddy said that you should wash the car in the car park, did you love it? Were you always smiling when you had to cook? No. So why do we think that it is our children are supposed to be happy, jolly when we ask them to do certain things? That is not the way it's supposed to be. But can you have a conversation about chores? Like today, my daughter was so elated. I went out early in the morning, I had a video presentation, and by the time I came back, she had done all her chores. And she was like, Mommy, I'm so excited. I get a reward because I've done my chores. I'm like, oh, that's fantastic, right? You know, that's about the only time. But I'm pretty sure when she was doing it, she was like, oh God, I wish I could get out of this. But you see, we had the conversation severally for her to get to that space where because she was still asleep when I was going out. I don't need to tell her that these are the things that you need to do. She gets it done because I know she knows that there is something that this does to her, and then there's a reward for it. And now that is discipline. When you study hard for mathematics and you know you get an A+ at the end of the day, that is discipline, right? You know that there is a reward. But then we think that the minute that we begin to talk to them about chores or responsibility and all that, it's supposed to be an automatic, I'm happy to do it. No child is happy. If we as parents could have all the money in the world, travel all the places in the world without having to work for it, we would, wouldn't we? But then what kind of life is that? So us teaching them that the discipline and boundary struggle that we have as parents is recognizing that they need to be more of our presence, more of our own coaching skills as parents that we need to begin to practice. Now, strict boundaries do not mean tough love or no room for feelings. You can establish boundaries. You can be strict about your boundaries, like curfew, bedtime is 8 o'clock and bedtime is 8 o'clock, no matter what happens, right? And you can actually enforce consequences as a result of that. And you can still be, in spite of that, still be emotionally supportive. And they will still tell you, I love you. They will grudgingly say it. They don't like it, but they will grudgingly say it. Rather than shouting and yelling and saying, I hate you, I don't want you to be. Because you see this on TV and you say, I lie, I do not want my child to ever say that word to me. But then what if they feel it and never say it to you? So the misconceptions of emotional regulation is this: emotion coaching is too soft, or emotional regulation is too soft. It makes children weak. I'm here to tell you that when you learn what emotion coaching is, the resilience that you want to build in the child, it will be a naturally occurring incident as a result of the way you have emotion coached your children. Tough love is the only way to build resilience. Okay, we've covered that before. Tough love is no love. No matter how much you color it, there is no love there. You say, oh, they should feel the pain now so that later on they will thank you. Yes, they may thank you, but did that pain go away? If I validate my children's emotions, they will use it as an excuse. It is only if that would only happen if you don't continue to have communication or connection with those children. Because again, we've seen it work over and over again. The thing with emotion coaching that makes discipline and boundary work is that without emotion coaching, children see discipline as rejection, that you hate them. There's constant power struggles. They feel rules like they are punishment and they lack, they are just scattered. You see them, in the shopping mall and they are throwing tantrums up and down, or you see them at school and even talking back to teachers because again, that is what happens at home, right? Parents resort to yelling and frustration, and then you have high blood pressure when you are still 40. Please, instead of that, why don't you try learning what it means to see your child believe that the discipline that you're actually giving them is guidance. Cooperation and understanding is possible in the home. That they know that no matter how strict those rules are, they are there to protect them and support them, and that they begin to let self-discipline themselves. We know this. If I were to ask you to write out the kind of child that you want, say, for instance, you don't have a child, we would all write all the lovely things that this child should be. But how about you beginning to teach this child that you have right now these very things that you want them to be? So the discipline and boundary blueprint is this. This is why I'm very excited about this masterclass that is coming up from the 21st of February to the 23rd. It's a daily masterclass and it is virtual. The very thing that you are struggling with emotional regulation, emotion coaching, developing a discipline and boundary blueprint itself, like what is the discipline that goes with age 2 to 5? What is the discipline that goes from age 6 to 10 and from up until they are 18? What are the things that you need to teach them? These are the things that will be covering in this masterclass, because we'll be helping you understand how to set clear and firm boundaries without feeling guilty and having power struggles consistently with your adolescents. You would also begin to understand how to discipline effectively using emotion coaching instead of fear-based punishment. Because you see that child who fears you now, you wake up one day and look you in the eye and say, so what? What can you do? I've seen it happen. A child will walk out of the family and say, well, I'm good enough to, they're now becoming music stars or TV stars and whatnot. And we'll begin to celebrate them and say, there's nothing we could have done. There's so much you could have done and you can actually start now. It also begins to help you foster resilience with these children, such that when they encounter things that are really hard, they know who to turn to and they know how to work their way back. Because problem solving is something that actually comes with emotion coaching naturally. It is not about allowing them to just feel all their emotions and sit in the emotions like that. No. We understand the emotions and then we problem solve it, even with the consequences. So you teach your children how to manage frustration, disappointment, and challenges with confidence. So here is the deal. The deal is this: the Discipline and Boundary Masterclass is coming up on the 21st to 23rd of February, and it comes at a price of 50,000 naira. But those who pay or commit, so we have people who are actually on the call right now who are called Timeless Soul admins. Those who are on this call right now and are interested, if you pay 20,000 between today and Monday, 6 p.m. on Monday, you actually get further discount, like the person who paid for the exclusive plan of this masterclass and this webinar tonight. That means you get a further 10% discount on the early bird price, meaning that you get to pay 42,750 naira. That's a lot to save. And I dare say, I actually had this back and forth with my team, like, how much should we put this at? Well, we understand the economy and we know what is going on. And that is why we are actually being so generous with this class. So quickly, if you want more information on the masterclass, go ahead, write it in the chat box. I'm sure my colleagues will respond to you fast, because in this, I cannot wait to teach it, because the more I teach it, the more I also master it for myself and my family. And the people who have gone through this masterclass are like, this is one of the things that they wish they knew even before they had children. What are the things that we need to begin to do right now as a result of having come for this webinar? They are not so much, and you can start now. The first is begin to help your children understand what emotions are by helping them to name the feelings that they are feeling. When they tell you that I'm feeling this way, ask them, what is it that you are feeling? Tell me about it. Don't shout it at them and say, I don't care what you are feeling, just go and do what I've asked you to do. No, because in that moment they are saying, just go and do what I've asked you to do, you're actually dismissing them from understanding the purpose of whatever it is that you're having them to do in the first place. I know that is the way some of our parents did it. But you again remember, and this is one thing that I love, I remember the number of times that our parents will, my mom would wake us up as early as 2 a.m. and say, I want to talk to you. You know those things? They were not wrong in those moments. What they were actually doing was emotion coaching us. Because it happens only once in a blue moon, you think that you can only apply that thing when the case is extreme. But how about you actually practicing it way before it is extreme? By actually listening, not in the middle of the night, but by actually listening right now. Now, leverage community support. We have a fantastic community of parents from our last parenting summit. And, we've been having a swell time on that group where we actually talk on a daily basis on various things that we can do to improve our parenting. Leverage on that. But within your own community as well,
Be sure that you are able to talk to people about what you're going through as a parent. Because the more you feel frustrated about your parenting, the more you express frustrated parenting to the children. And then the more they feel frustrated about their lives. Now, teach through proverbs and stories. And this is one thing that I love about our parents. Now I begin to understand all those Yoruba proverbs that my mom used to say, not so much back then. But it's interesting that when we teach our children our language and the proverb that comes with them and the stories, you know, the many stories of the tortoise and the hawk or the hare and all that that we learned as a child, those were actually teaching us fantastic things, but we were not paying attention. Balance discipline with emotional safety. There is no way your child will believe you are teaching them or you're guiding them if they are afraid of you. The only thing they are saying is that fear, danger, 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 right? So you need to balance your discipline with emotional safety that comes with firm boundaries and warmth. Not normalize making mistakes. I've seen too many cases of children who they hate failing as such that they begin to hate the children who actually are successful. There was this popular case that happened about a couple of years ago in a school where the children actually were planning to, or they actually poisoned their classmates for being so good in chemistry. Where does that come from? How does that vehemence and violence not shake us to our core as parents and make us wonder what we need to begin to do differently? So once again, I'm asking you, please, please, and please, join our parent support group. Prepare to come for the master class on the discipline and boundary blueprint so that we can actually deal with this issue of resilience once and for all. The thing with the registration that you make, it comes with an e-workbook that guides you step by step on actually what are the things that you need to talk about with your family, with your children, how to set the discipline manual and all that, and your boundary guidelines as well. You also have practical emotion coaching conversation starters, like, you know, flashcards, when you are faced with a particular challenge in understanding your child's emotion. Because again, here's the thing, every one of us is born with emotions, and, you know, to the best of my knowledge, except for those who have, you know, a psychological or a medical reason for not having emotions. Every one of us is born with emotions, but not one of us is born with the ability to regulate emotions. No, we learn how to regulate our emotions based on the way our parents actually regulate their own emotions. And this is why you need to learn it, or you need to learn it differently. Now, I also enjoy our community support once again that helps you go through this. Thank you very much once again. I try to keep to time. Coach Chineze, I hope I did not disappoint you in keeping to the time that you allotted me. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to us on these numbers that are available. God bless you. I wait for questions and answers now. Thank you.
Let's give her a beautiful hand clap. Thank you, Coach Amina. Thank you. You did excellently well. Please, I'm looking through the chat. I'm not seeing any question. Please, you have the opportunity to milk from her this evening. You can unmute and ask your question directly. You can type it on the comment section. So she will read it and answer you. Or are you trying to let me know that everything she said this evening is well understood? That's why you're not asking your question. Please ask your question. We have about 20 minutes to attend to questions. So I'm going to wait a bit. If I didn't hear anyone talk or see any question here, I will go on. I'm not seeing any question.
Hello, House. You know, I would always talk.
Hello. Welcome, Dr. G.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Coach Amina. You are, I can never have enough of you. You know that. You know, the thing about parenting, I don't know if you've looked through the other angle where the parent would say, I went through life hard and I want to make it different for my children. And then you get parents saying, after all I have done for you, look at how they've turned out. I've helped. There's this issue of helicopter parenting, overparenting, trying to shield, and then a lot of parents struggle with how much is enough. There's a thin line between doing what you consider the best. The best is very subjective, and actually sabotaging the ability for a child to be resilient. I could imagine that man pushing the wheelchair, just saying, let me just push you through. Let me even develop the best ramp. Let me buy you a better chair. Why are you even using a wheelchair? Why can't you have an electric one like a Ayefele zone? Let me even get, let me get you to the best school. Let me get another teacher. Let me change your lesson. And how much should we? I know you might have this as a module for next month, so I might not want to burst, the bubble, but I know a lot of my friends work so hard, become absent just because we want to compensate for the gaps we suffered.
Okay. So, overcompensating is actually some of the things that, we are going to talk about in the class. But if you understand who your child is, you can begin to tell when it is stressful for them to go through certain things. So it is imagining, for instance, for that young boy, yes, the father could have thought about getting a wheelchair, but only God knows how much they've spent on medical expenses in the first instance, right? Up until, so even having that wheelchair could have been their, it could have taken a lot for them to get it. Again, not all luxury are indulgent, especially if you understand who your child is, right? So it is really about understanding who the child is. And that is where we are going to start from, when we actually begin to understand the emotion coaching process. Who exactly is my child? What is stress in terms of what we are able to afford? Because if they could afford the electric wheelchair, I don't know, would I have made the child any resilience? Would I have made the child not even feel like, I wish I could run? Because there's still that adversity in the first place for that boy, isn't it? But if they couldn't afford it, and this is what they could afford, the next best thing is to teach the child to be even more capable of being able to do it. So for all intents and purposes, I think even when I was watching the comments on that particular video, there were people who were donating to the family at that point in time when the video was released. So who knows, maybe now they can now afford an electric wheelchair. But again, it's constantly going back to, what is the thing that I want to achieve with my child, and how best can I achieve it? Even if I have all the money in this world, right? What are the major skills and talents that I want them to evolve into and develop for themselves? You could have a maid and still get your children to take care of their own space. It doesn't make you over-parenting, right? But at the same time, it shouldn't make them feel like you don't care about them. It is about the communication that you have in those times that matters.
Thank you.
I hope that clarifies it to you a bit.
It does clarify. I don't know. I can't have it made. I had to let the lady go. So there's this new pot called Thermomix. It's like a Tesla. It's like a pot that's got a GPS. So it's an IT techie pot. You put in your recipe, it tells you everything. It's sold for like £1,200, and all my friends are buying it so that your children would not burn food. They would not miss the recipe. There won't be any shouting in the kitchen. It's called Thermomix. I have not bought that pot because I asked myself, if they go into uni, if they become grown, then they're going to be, this is all
would
they
you buy
know.
it for them? Exactly.
But my kids are not happy about it because everywhere we go, they just impute the recipe and the pot does everything for them. So it's all about what I want for them.
Exactly. You know, so it's really understanding what you want the child to become at the end of the day and how you want them to grow. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So we have someone raising up
Thank
their
you,
hand.
Coach
Yeah.
Amina. Someone is raising up her hand and there are questions. So I'm going to allow you, Wulikat Babalola, please unmute yourself and ask your question. After that, we attend to those ones in our chat.
Okay, good evening. Thank you for such an informative session. My question is, what do you advise when children are like competitive amongst themselves? Take, for instance, maybe the eldest is doing well in school, getting awards, and the other siblings are trying to follow suit, but you know quite well that their abilities are different. And then at times, you know, this type of competition or wanting to also achieve as the other sibling has achieved, it tends to kind of bring, how do I say, dampen their spirits at times. You know, that could, say that again?
Do they feel resentful of the person that is winning the awards?
At times, you know, not resentment, but you know, that feeling of, oh, if she could do it, why can't I do it? And then they take it hard themselves. You know, at times they show aggression towards the other sibling, or they
Are they in the same school?
Yeah, they are in the same school, and most of the time they kind of they are exposed to the same kind of activities, the same. They are not in the same class though. So, but as much as possible, you know, we try to explain to the other siblings that all of you can't achieve the same thing. You will achieve areas that you are good at. But you know, children, they always want to have what the other person has. So, you
So what
know,
are the things that you have celebrated for the other children? Have you given them an award of the best cook or the best sweeper or something?
no, we don't do awards really, because that would even, in my opinion, it would even create a more it will make them a bit more resentful to the other person who is taking the awards. So what we do is try to like appreciate all of them for their efforts to so far, and continue to encourage them to be better, but always making them understand that you can't always, you know, have what the other person has, because you're different from her, she's different from you, your abilities are different. But you know, children, at times they just, as you have said, they box in a lot of emotions, and the only time it come out is, you know, when they have a nervous breakdown, or you know, they they tend to be resentful of from what they say. So it's a continuous struggle. I don't know how you
So one of the things I think I would suggest is, number one, if they're in this, okay, so I would advise that you listen without giving a solution. How old are these children?
They are above
The
10
one that
years.
does well is how old?
She's just a teenager. She just turned 13. The other one is 11. Not that he doesn't do well also, but you know, he always wants to be the best. He always wants to be in the spotlight. And when he doesn't achieve what he set up, it usually dampens the spirit and brings out a sort of resentment. And he's always like, you know, pushing the blame. Oh, they didn't allow me to do it. I can do it better, but they didn't give me that opportunity. So, you know, and it's not every time that you can always go back and investigate, or what happened, why didn't you get the chance, and all of that.
No, I understand that. You know, one of the things that I believe that you should do is, so, you know, get to that space where you just allow him to vent his emotion, then you ask him what he wants to do. So again, that is problem solving for you. You don't have to think about it all the time. Personality traits matters here. So his personality may be one that is constantly in need of affirmation and one that actually needs acknowledgement in that space. The other person that is actually winning or getting all the awards may not need it as much. But to foster sibling connection, it is really important for you to get to that space where you listen to him without necessarily wanting to solve or fix what is going on. Then you ask him, okay, so what do you think we should do differently next time? Another thing is constantly engage in psychoeducation, teaching him that, okay, so there are certain things, you've already done it or you've started it, continue it. He may not get it now, but eventually he will get to that space where he understands it. And I hear you say you don't like awards, but you may need to actually give him an award. And this is not a, what they call participation award. Thank you for coming. We also award you for something. No, there are skills that he has that the other person may not have that you need to celebrate, because now this is happening over and over again. It is a sore point for this young person. And you need to get to the bottom of why exactly is it feeling that way? Do you need an acknowledgement more than we have already been giving you? If your older sibling has more awards than you, do you have any? Okay, if that is the case, can we fix that? Is this something that we can do immediately? But I will start from the bottom up, which is allow the child to vent, to feel the emotion, and to let the child know that, well, yeah, I also feel the same way. I understand how you're feeling. I know that this was hurtful, but we are going to support your older sibling together, love one another and all that. And so, eventually he or she would get it at the end of the day. Yeah.
We have our question.
Okay.
Thank you. One of the questions we have in the chat says, please, how can one address sibling rivalry as part of building resilience? The second one, how can you control your emotions when you've tried several times, but nothing seems to work, especially if you want to avoid shouting or screaming?
Okay, so the second one, I'm going to start with it. Please come to the Emotion Masterclass. You thoroughly need it. If you have been screaming and shouting, I am begging you, for the sake of yourself, not even for the children, for the sake of yourself, so that you can save yourself some well-needed from the stress that you're experiencing right now. Please come for the discipline and boundary blueprint. I can assure you, money back guarantee, that you will learn what to do to stop screaming and yelling immediately from the first class. You would learn it. That is a money back guarantee. So please message us if you have any further questions on that. Now, when it comes to sibling rivalry as part of building resilience, there are several factors that contribute to rivalry. One of which is the different personality traits that children have. And if they begin to sense that parents are more attuned to one child more than the other, and we do this unconsciously, it is not something that we plan. And this is why I say that no matter how well-intentioned you are, right, no matter how well you have even prayed to God that I want to be the best parent ever, you see that award of best parent would only come with some inner work. Because again, you see, sibling rivalry comes from a place of, I need to be noticed, just as my sibling is also being noticed. And if you're able to even solve that, there's still personality traits that you need to resolve. After personality traits is you understanding that individual love language. After that is not actually working together to have a collective meeting to say, okay, let's talk about this. Kind of like have a UN meeting of all the trusted continents in your family. Let us have a meeting so that we know who is hurt, how can we resolve it? Because if one person continues to feel like, oh, you only hear one side more than the other side, it may actually be true, but you may not be aware of it. So you need to really learn all those processes. So again, please come for the discipline and boundary masterclass, and we'll get more insight. You actually have a plan on how to handle such things as well. All right.
Please unmute yourself and talk.
But check that will go.
Shadrach.
Yeah, good evening, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Coach
Good
Amina, for
evening.
the wonderful session. Even though I
Happy
thought
New
I
Year.
was
It's nice to
just
hear your voice. Yeah.
Happy New Year, man. Awesome, was a great one. So, I just need your insight on something I'm dealing with as a parent. You know, I'm
Okay.
raising girls. You know, and one of the challenges, they have where they school is bullying. You know, these boys bullying girls. You know, while we were growing up, I had that challenge, but as a boy, my parents taught us to fight, and then we fought our way through it, and we couldn't stand. I was able to deal with bullying, but now they are girls, and the boys are bullying them. I've tried to report to the school authority, but sometimes schools are not able to deal with these things, and I teach them how to stand up for themselves, but sometimes this thing gets physical, you know, when a boy is pushing a girl and they've reported severally. Sometimes I'm tempted to teach them to go physical. But in my heart, I say, why should I teach girls to start fighting? They may not be able to defend themselves, against these rough boys. I don't know. Do you have, please, man, shed light on that, how
Okay.
we can, yes, ma'am.
As a parent, you can escalate this to the Ministry of Education. That's the truth, because then if you have reported to the school authorities and nothing is being done, you need to advocate for the children who have been affected. So you can escalate this to the Ministry of Education of the state that you are in. We cannot continue to assume that things should just go or that they will fix themselves, or this is the way it has always been. I remember when the Sylvester Omani case came up, and a lot of people were coming online to share their own bullying, what happened in their boarding house and everything. And I was like, you know what? If any one of us had actually reported at the time that was due, when it was happening, to the right authorities, and they are taking it up upon themselves, this should have stopped, instead of becoming even more gangster-like right now. So for me, the advice is, if the school authorities are not responding to the way, if you are the parents of any one of these girls, either you take the child away, but then that would just be putting a band-aid on the surgical interest. I would advise that, find a way to get the attention of people who are, supposed to be higher authority, so to speak, to attend to this. Because violence does not solve violence. It only begets more violence. And that doesn't solve anything.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I really appreciate this. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we don't have any more questions in here.
All right.
Thank you, Coach Amina, for today's wonderful teachings. It's quite insightful and educative. So today's webinar is brought to you by Timeless Soul Inc. And Timeless Soul Inc. is a leading organization in the family life coaching and therapy industry, dedicated to supporting families in navigating challenges, fostering healthy relationships, and prioritizing the well-being of children. So this organization is led by our own host today, Coach Amina Yunus Ali. Like I said before, she's highly respected family therapist, a coach, and a speaker. So some of the services we offer is trauma recovery therapy, teen coaching therapy, teen VIP, that's value integrated program, parenting mediation, family framework, the even in adolescents, and much more. So this evening, like Coach Amina already announced the masterclass that is coming on discipline and boundary. Please take this opportunity, the offer that she gave to you tonight, and use it, because this is a huge one. She has like slashed so much from the cost of the webinar. So do well to make use of today's bonus she has given graciously to us. And again, once you pay, not just only those that have paid, remember again to join the parents support group. The link is on the comment section. So do well to click and join. If you're not, if you've not joined before now, do well to do so and sign up for more services she offers. Okay. So we are so grateful to have you here with us. And I believe that the time spent here with us is valuable to you. You gain a lot, I believe so. And if you want to learn more and know how to deal with your children and how to self-regulate and do a lot of emotion coaching, please sign up for the masterclass. It is loaded. What you have tonight is just a tip of the iceberg. So don't just miss this opportunity. Sign up immediately. The bonus is going to elapse after 72 hours. So do well to utilize it. Okay. Thank you very much for having stayed till this moment. We are grateful to have you. And I don't know if there's any other thing, Coach Amina, you want to tell us before
that's all. Thank you very much, everyone. It's amazing being here once again. God bless you and have a good weekend. Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. God bless you too, Coach Amina. So I remain your anchor for tonight, Chineze Nwachukwu. Thank you very much. Good night and have a wonderful night rest for those of us in this Nigeria.
Good night. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Bye.
Touch the fool down. I'll do it till the sun goes down. And all the night down. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'll tell you what you wanna hear. My sunglasses on my identity. Night down. Yeah.